to spell it. Alcatraz. 20 minutes.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 44.
The facts from the case file of 1962 Alcatraz escape are tangled up in evasions and cover-ups from the initial investigation. Telephone calls, postcards, and letters were paraded as evidence, but they were nothing more than a masquerade. Sightings of men on rafts and men resembling the escapees in New Orleans, Washington, D.C., Rio de Janeiro, and Canada added to the mystery. Then there were the mysterious veiled women and bearded men who showed up at family funerals.
It's not even the right one.
Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, commonly known as The Rock, was a maximum security prison located on Alcatraz Island in San Francisco Bay. The prison operated from 1934 to 1963 and housed some of the most dangerous and notorious criminals in the United States, including Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, and Robert Stroud, also known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. The island eventually housed 280 cons and about 250 civilians. Alcatraz gained its reputation as one of the toughest and most secure prisons in the world due to its location on an isolated island, harsh living conditions, and strict security measures. Now, let's take a look at the key players of this case. Frank Lee Morris was an extremely smart, handsome guy with an IQ of 133. Born in Washington, D.C. in 1926, Morris had a troubled childhood and began committing crimes at a young age. He was known to read extensively and had a talent for drawing and painting. Morris was considered an ace at escaping from prisons, having previously escaped from the Louisiana State Penitentiary and the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. He was also
How did he escape from all those prisons? And people didn't think to put him under the prison. Like, bro, what?
so hard to figure. According to Officer Mills, he was a shy, neat, nice-looking young man. If I had been asked to pick any inmate at Alcatraz who was likely to make a run for it, Morris would have been my last choice. But that to me sounds like a profound misreading of the man. Morris had made escape his life, escaping from nearly every prison in which he'd served time, and the fact officers did not even suspect him tells us how good he was. At Alcatraz, he quickly earned a reputation as an intelligent and resourceful inmate. John Anglin and Clarence Anglin were brothers and co-conspirators in the 1962 Alcatraz escape. The older of the two, brother John, was blonde-haired and blue-eyed. Clarence, a year younger, was taller and heavier set, with dark hair and hazel blue eyes. In 1958, they were sentenced to 35 years in prison for robbing a bank. Due to their repeated attempts at escaping from prisons, they were eventually transferred to Alcatraz. I would like to mention an important point here, that before coming to Alcatraz, the brothers were known for their swimming abilities. They used to amaze their family and cousins by swimming in the frigid waters of Lake Michigan as ice still floated on its surface. West was born in New York City on March 25, 1929. West had a history of trying to escape from prisons. During one escape attempt from the Florida State Prison, he held a gun to the associate warden's head, stole his car keys, and escaped in the man's car. He was later captured and transferred to Alcatraz in 1957 at the age of 28. At Alcatraz, he talked constantly to the other inmates about escaping from the prison. In June 1958, Alan West arrived for his second stint at Alcatraz. In January 1960, Frank Morris arrived at Alcatraz in the cell next to Alan. On October 3, 1960, John Anglin was transferred to Alcatraz. And finally, in January 1961, Clarence Anglin also arrived at Alcatraz. On the night of June 11th, 1962, all of them except West escaped from Alcatraz. When we look at their previous histories along with their escape attempts, it looks like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle perfectly fitting together. And once they were together, they set into motion a chain of events that would later be always remembered as the greatest escape ever from the world's toughest prison. Morris, West and the Anglins planned their escape for more than a year. After their escape, investigators wondered which one of them had masterminded the plot. Though West claimed responsibility for the idea, he was the only one left behind to tell his story, and had a reputation for bragging. Experts say that with West's 8th grade education, he probably would not have been able to concoct a plan as sophisticated as the one the men executed. Morris was the one with the highest IQ and a history of staging sophisticated escapes. Plus, investigators found articles on how to make...
Wait, I heard that they was all put like all in one row, like right by each other. So like in 3 cells, like one cell right here, and the other 2 like right here. If they know that they broke through so much prisons, why put them all right next to each other? Wait, chat. Wasn't they put like all right by each other? I really don't know. I heard it. I really don't know if it's true though.
life jackets and boats in Morris's cell, not West's. However, West was instrumental in arranging the resources because it was his second time at Alcatraz, and he knew a lot of the inmates and officers there. Whoever devised the plan, it started with the ventilator shaft. There were 8 of these ventilators in the prison ceiling, but only one of them was not cemented closed. Once the 4 men learned about it, they realized that if they could somehow climb up to the top of the prison and remove the ventilator cover, they could get out onto the prison's roof. West was assigned to clean up, after a plumbing crew installed hot water faucets in cells. While doing so, he saw water heating pipes that he thought could be used as a ladder, because they extended all the way to the top. How would they open up the vents without any tools, or any of the guards noticing? Morris's first thought was to burn through the concrete by using an electric cord attached to the cell's ceiling light socket. But it did not work. They realized they would have to dig the vents open. Every day during a happy hour between 5:30 and 9:30 p.m., the men began chipping away at the concrete around cell vents, using the sharpened ends of spoons they had stolen from the mess. They created tiny holes, which they later combined to form bigger and bigger holes. Once the men had made a few holes in their vents, they would use wet toilet paper, smoothed over with soap chips to cover them. After
Chat. I don't understand why prisons put vents inside there. Like, I don't know why. They know like multiple like years, like between like 1900 and like the 2000s. These people has broken through prisons by vents. I don't know why they still do that.
many nights of digging, the concrete was finally loose enough for Morris to pull out the grill, but that left a gaping hole. Using pieces of cardboard from the prison art supplies, he cut out a rectangle the exact size and shape of the grill. On it, he drew the precise crisscross pattern of the grill and painted it the same shade of green. When he was finished digging each night, he would simply slide the entire fake grill into place. Each escapee...
Child, why does that actually look like a real vent? Wait, child, is that the real vent? Like right here? Is this the real vent? Yo. What? Wait, child, is this the cord he used? No, I think it's just... Yo, that acts like a vent. So Chad, they're actually like good at this. So like they do this. Like how do they have like the IQ to like do certain things like this? Like why? Like how? I don't understand.
did the same with the grill in his cell. But just to be safe, Morris left his concertina case in front of the vent. John Anglin hung a long raincoat in front of it. The grills were finally big.
If they just kept stuff in front of it, why didn't the guards check? Like if I was one of the guards after a long time, like I'll get like, what's the call it? I'll be like why they keep like covering it up, and like it's never uncovered, and I would check.
Enough for the men to squeeze through, but they could not just leave their cells empty, and needed decoys. To make models of themselves required hair, which Clarence Anglin was able to steal from his job at the prison barbershop. The first dummy head the Anglins made was constructed of rags covered with soap. Clarence added the hair he stole from the barbershop to the top of the head and used it to form eyebrows and eyelashes. The half head was so ugly that men jokingly called it Oink. Next came Oscar, a more complete and human-looking head, molded out of...
They named the heads, bro. That gotta be like some psychopath stuff, bro. Not psychopath, but like
toilet paper and soap to form a homemade plaster. When the men sneaked out of their cells, they left the dummy heads on their pillows and stuffed rolled up blankets and clothes under the covers to form the shape of their bodies. While prison life went on as usual, Morris, West, and the Anglins were creating a whole other industry inside Alcatraz. There, they made their very own workshop, where they assembled all of the tools they would need to escape. To get off Alcatraz, they would have to survive the frigid waters of the bay, which meant they would need boats and...
How long were the heads right there, like on a bed? Cause like, if the heads are right there for like 2 days in a row, the police officer, like the guards, like, they don't check, cause like why would they be asleep for that long? Like there's no way. Like if they wasn't like asleep for that long before, how would they be asleep? Like why would they be asleep for like longer than that? So like it's like a specific time they have to do this. So if like they don't do it at a specific time, the guards can catch them, because they wouldn't just be asleep for like 4 days straight.
flotation devices. Morris had read an article in Popular Mechanics magazine that taught him how to make a life jacket. He constructed the life jackets, as well as 2 6 by 14-foot rafts using the waterproof 55 Navy raincoats that they had traded with other inmates. To inflate the raft, Morris removed the keys from the concertina he bought from the prison and used it as a bellows.
That's smart. That's smart. That's smart.
To steer the raft, Morris crafted wooden paddles. And to enhance the durability of the life jackets and rafts, Morris applied a technique developed by Charles Goodyear in the 1830s, known as vulcanization, which uses heat to toughen rubber and render it more resistant to tears. To navigate the dark, frigid waters, Morris fashioned his own flashlight utilizing 2 pen lights.
The guards didn't see them going away, or did they? Like it's just common. Like why would they not have guards at the top, like the prison, like where you walk on and stuff?
Batteries, and a small rectangular plastic box containing a bulb on one end. A metal fastener conveyed the electricity from the battery to the bulb and functioned as a switch. In the spring of 1962, Clarence Anglin was the first person to climb the pipes to the top of the cell house to reach the ceiling vent. What he discovered was disheartening. The ventilator, their route out of Alcatraz, was covered with a cap attached by solid metal screws. Clarence tried using a wrench made with clasps taken from his bed, but he could not loosen them by hand. Here West proved resourceful. When he learned that the prison's vacuum cleaner had broken, he offered to fix it. Much to his surprise and delight, he discovered that inside it was not 1, but 2 motors. West fixed one motor and removed the other. To this motor, he attached drill bits, and using this, they were able to wriggle the screws free. On the night of Sunday, June 10th, 1962, Morris sent word out to the rest of the men that tomorrow was going to be their day of escape. And went up to the vent. Out of the 4 men, Only West had not finished opening the hole in the back of his cell, because some cement still needed to be removed from the edges to make it large enough for him to crawl through. While West was working on it from the inside, Clarence tried to break the hole open from behind the wall using a pipe provided by Morris, but it made too much noise. Despite feeling panicked, West continued to work on removing the remaining cement. Meanwhile, the Anglin brothers were restless and anxious about missing their chance to escape, so they decided to leave West to finish on his own and proceed with their plan. At around 10:30 p.m., Morris pulled open the cap to the roof vent. Inside the West gun gallery, an officer heard the noise. It sounded like a person hitting the end of an empty 50-gallon oil drum with the heel of his hand. The officer reported the noise to the lieutenant on duty, who went to investigate inside the prison but didn't find anything. They rushed across the rooftop, but in their haste, they dropped one of their paddles and left behind a spare life vest and raft. When they reached the other end of the roof, they descended a 45-foot pipe on the outside wall of the prison kitchen, but John swung too hard, causing a second loud noise heard by guards at 10:45 p.m. By 11 p.m., Morris and the Anglins likely reached the water's edge, where they assembled their raft, inflated their life jackets, and waded into the water. After loading their supplies into the raft, they pushed off into the darkness. West continued to dig furiously at the back of his cell. Finally, at around 1:45 a.m., he was able to break through, and upon reaching the roof, he found it empty. West stood there for a few moments, possibly thinking of what could have been done. Then he climbed back down the shaft, crawled back into his cell, and got into bed. He had been left behind. At 7:15 a.m. on the morning of June 12th,
Wait, so they left them on purpose, or like they was just like doing too much things and that like they didn't know, they forgot, or like they didn't know that he was supposed to be coming, or they didn't know, but like did they be like they was doing too much things, so like they really forgot.
Officer Lawrence Bartlett did his routine head count along the B block. When he tried to wake a sleeping Clarence Anglin, the prisoner would not budge. He yelled for Lieutenant Bill Long. "Lieutenant Bill, I got one. I can't wake up." Long went down to Anglin's cell to investigate. "I reached my left hand in through the bars and hit the pillow and hollered, 'Get up for the count!'" Long later recalled. Bam! The head flopped off on the floor. To this day, broken nose can be seen on the decoy. When the head rolled off the bed and struck the floor, another officer in front of Morris's cell yelled, "I got one here too!" Long ran to the phone and the alarm was sounded. Following the Alcatraz escape, extensive search efforts were conducted in the air, on land, and in the water.
If there was a prison there, why'd they make the island so big? Like they could have just made it like a pad for the helicopters, like boats, and then the prison like right there. They should have made all this land right here, like all of this. Like I get they gotta get food and like water, but like the helicopter can just bring that stuff. Like they should have just took all of this off, all of this, and like I don't know what's on the other side, but like yeah.
Officers discovered their workshop where the escapees had crafted their tools. Bloodhounds were employed to trace the men's path, which led down to the water's edge, but stopped there. Interviews played a significant role in the FBI's investigation, and West, who had been involved in the plot, was their most valuable witness. In fact, West was eager to share his knowledge with the FBI, as he was bitter about being left behind. According to West, the plan involved paddling north to Angel Island, taking a break,